Hello, friends. Welcome aboard the Round Trip Stories podcast, where we share stories of moving around the world and back again, reflecting on the lessons we've learned along the way. My name is Melissa.
And my name is Tracy, and we are so glad you're joining us for today's episode. Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Marie-Cécile Collomp, an independent education consultant originally from France. Dubai was her family's third expat assignment, and after COVID, the company transferred her family back to France. With her teenagers almost ready to graduate from international schools, they could not return to the French education system. Marie-Cécile's family had to find the best city with the best fit, and that was back in an international community. Listen to Marie-Cécile describe how she considered this move back home as another expat assignment and how they needed to pivot to support their eldest son who had gone overseas to college. So buckle your seatbelts and make sure your tray tables and seats are in their upright positions as part 2 of Marie-Cécile's round trip story gets ready for takeoff. And we are back with part 2 of our interview with Marie-Cécile Collomp from France originally, but quite the globetrotter. And so, Marie, would you remind us where you lived abroad and how long you were there?
Okay, so we lived abroad as the family from 2013 when we moved to India to 2021. In those few years, we spent 1.5 years in India, 4 years in China, and 3 years in Dubai, United Arab Emirates.
Okay, and we are talking about the United Arab Emirates right now. So when and why did you return to France from the UAE?
From the UAE, we returned to France in 2021, so post-COVID, when companies were downsizing their global activities. So my husband was asked to move back to France, and so we packed and arrived in France with 2 out of our 3 children, because one was starting his studies in Canada, and we didn't really have a home in France, and our kids have been in an international school for the past 7 years. So there was no way they were going back to the French system, being one a junior and the other one a sophomore. So we started looking for international schools, and we found 2 international schools in Aix-en-Provence in the south of France. And we were like, oh, okay, Aix-en-Provence sounds nice. It's not too big of a city. It's in the south. There is a high-speed train to go to Paris for my husband. Let's go and settle in Aix-en-Provence. So that's how it happened.
Okay.
And then what did you do at that point? And then what are you doing now?
Okay, so at that point when we arrived, we considered this move back to France like a new expat. We were like, okay, I need to make sure the kids are all settled in school, everything is going well. I need to secure like the whole supply chain logistics of the house, and
That's your business side, right?
Yes, completely.
Your finance and marketing and business side. Okay.
Now I'm working as an independent education consultant. So I work with high school students from junior, senior, sophomore to help them know themselves better and decide what type of studies will be good for them. So we looked at study paths, we looked at university programs, and I helped them structure their list of universities, and I helped them with their application also. And that, I love it. I truly love it.
That's really great. Yeah, Tracy and I both have sons who are seniors in high school this year. And so, yeah, I wish my son had somebody like that to help him figure out what he wants to do.
Yeah. Marie-Cécile, you mentioned that you work with mostly French expats, right? Or French students who are abroad?
Yeah, I work with French students who are abroad, but also American kids, Spanish kids, international kids. Yeah.
us a story about your initial re-entry back to life in France after you had spent all those years in those other countries?
The initial story is, I would say, not very positive. Luckily, it changed after, but it was really hard because when you're abroad, you have a whole support system, whether from the international community or the company you work for or your spouse work for. And you have all this support system in place. You have a question, you have someone to ask. You move back to your own country and your friends, you have not been living in France for a long time. You don't know how it works anymore. But people expect you just to go back and know everything. And when you say, okay, I need help on that. Oh, but why? You're French and you know how it's going. And so that's the part that was hard, just adjusting back to that and getting back in all the administration, all the documentation and things like that.
When you're saying administration and documentation, are you speaking about the schools or some other aspects as well?
Luckily, the schools was the most straightforward because it was like moving from, an international school to another international school. Schools are private. So it was fine. But getting back the social security, getting back the papers for the house, this type of things like, you need
utilities
exactly. Or you need like pay slips. Well, we don't have pay slips because we arrive from abroad. So that's not possible. And it's like this constant loop, But I think everybody in every country, you experience that.
Yeah, and it's just true that every country does it a little bit differently, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't necessarily make it less frustrating when you're trying to do something that should be easy and you can't figure out, you just don't know what you don't know. One thing I wanted to say, we interviewed a lot of TCKs. A lot of them moved back to their passport country after they had graduated from high school, but some of them moved earlier. And I don't remember any of them saying that when they moved back to their passport country that they went to an international school at that point. I just think that is such a good thing for people to think about. If the cost is not a barrier, that if they can move back home but still find an international school to be a part of, that how that could help the transition.
Absolutely. Yes.
It just, that makes so much sense.
It truly helped both for the kids and for us because we had this we kept this international feeling at school. When the kids for their first day at school, they arrived and in their classroom there were like 15 different nationalities. Everybody was speaking English. And that was fine. And for me, going to school and hearing all those different languages was also this breath of fresh air, that you needed after dealing with French administration and French things. And you were just like, I'm just going to school and have a coffee in the courtyard. It's just going to be nice. And luckily, Aix is not a big city. There is about 120,000 inhabitants. But there is a huge international community, whether retired people who have come and settled in Aix, or there is also a lot of exchanges with universities. People come from a sabbatical for a short time. I had found purely by chance on Facebook this group of international women that were having a coffee every other week in the center of Aix, and you could go there and have this international community to talk, and that was that was helpful. And that's when you realize, okay, once you have tasted this international life, it becomes part of you, and it becomes your support system.
is there anything else that you want to share about what was hard moving back to France?
Okay, what was hard was more something personal that our eldest, who had started studying in the US, in Canada, sorry, suffered from mental health issues, and we had to bring him back to France and help him feel better, help him recover. So that I was settling in France and helping him finding solutions through medication, doctors, emotional support, all this. And so he took a plane ticket and moved back to France, and so closed the chapter there. When you're in it, you know you have to deal with it, and it was hard. But then it's when you realize that, okay, when you ask for help, there is always a light somewhere. I found this, first of all, the great doctors and things like that, purely by chance. But then through this international community that was very important for our son, I found this volunteer cafe in Aix, where it's run by a wonderful man from South Africa who retired in Aix-en-Provence. And he started this volunteer cafe that's run by students and people like you and me who just give their time to sell coffees and make sandwiches, and all the proceeds go to charities. And everybody speaks English there. So we told my son, okay, let's just go to this cafe and you will give me your feeling. I'll offer you a drink. And he was like, yeah, do you think I can work there? I say, hey, you have the owner right there. Go talk to him. So that was truly a lifesaver. And it was thanks to like international people and still those international connections that help overcome this. Yeah.
That's really neat.
How difficult of a time that when you were transitioning back,
Yes.
you were helping your children, which is what we do first, right?
Exactly.
And then
yes.
to also help your son.
When he was a large ocean away.
Yes, exactly.
That's stressful.
We talked in our part one of our interview with you about COVID happening while you guys were in Dubai. And I think that for all of us, but especially for our kids who were young adults at that point, that even though we were all through the worst of the crisis, sometimes after the crisis is when we really actually start feeling the effects of what we went through. And especially when it's something that took a long time. So all of that stress, you know, we kind of want to think that, okay, no, we're good. Let's just go. But it catches up to us. And
absolutely. Yes. Yeah. You know, it's nothing compared to post-traumatic shock that some people experience, but it's something that still needs to be addressed. And especially in young people, Antoine and his classmates, they spend their whole senior year online. And then they all left this super protected environment of being a whole year just within families and very close friends at the end, to being an ocean apart, doing a quarantine in a hotel, moving to a new country by yourself because your parents couldn't come with you because of the post-COVID situation.
Right, there were still restrictions.
Yeah, and Antoine at that time was not even 18, he was still 17, and you're just like, that's a lot. When I look at his cohort, it's amazing the number of kids that started something and stopped and took time to refocus on what they wanted and so on. It was not flawless. It was not seamless.
So is there anything that you want to add about what was helpful, whether for you during that season of readjustment and, you know, also helping, you know, when your son was going through those things? What else would you want to share that was helpful during those seasons?
Reconnecting with friends in France that we had kept in contact but from abroad, and some of them had visited us in the different countries, but some of them didn't. And so reconnecting with those old friends, and also being back to France, reconnecting with our expat families that were also in France. And that was really helpful, talking to those friends or meeting or doing like, okay, let's meet for a weekend, and just remembering all this time and all what we went through. And that was the silver lining of being back, of taking the time to reconnect with everyone.
Yeah. Those relationships are so important.
Yeah. They are precious. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was just going to ask about how your kids did reconnecting, because a couple years ago when we visited with some families, I was a little nervous. I'm like, oh, we're going to have enough to talk about. But really, when you get together, it's such a precious time, because we know each other in this place, or from China or from India or whatever, and there's that connection. And we're one of the few people who know each other in that area. And so it's special for both of us. My kids seem to be more reluctant to reconnect with people because they think it's been too long.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe it's because they're teenagers, or, of course they don't remember as much.
It feels different to them.
Yeah, I'm wondering how your kids were with reconnecting with people.
My kids, they left, and we did not go back to the same place. So they did not reconnect with French friends they used to have. So they made new friends. They stay in contact with their friends from abroad. But then when we reconnected with friends from our expat life, they were just enjoying it, because that's one thing I told them during each move is like, okay, you're brothers and sisters, and you are the only one who really know what the other went through. And it's the same with the person you met in India or the persons you met in China. It's so, even if they don't have as many memories, Tracy, as you said, it's still in their mind.
And making new memories is really special. I mean, I know that we were very lucky to be able to go and visit the families that we met. And now we have all of these new memories, right? All these new connections.
And you build on those memories. You remember what you experienced together, but you also make new memories. It's also part of your life now. You have those memories in a country, but you make new memories in a different place, and you still keep the connection.
My last question for our interview right now is our favorite choose your own adventure question. So you get to pick one from this list of questions. So
that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, they're all good questions. Yes. I know. So the first question is, what rhythms do you have in place which allow you to remember your time abroad? Or second, what do you do with all the feels, memories, relationships, love for the place and people, etc.? Or third, do you have a favorite funny story about your time abroad or your transition back? So which of those do you want to answer?
I think I'll pick the first one, but it might have some connection with the second one, but you'll tell me.
Okay.
So what rhythm do we have is we have some routine in place. That's something that my husband started in China, is every year doing photo albums of everything that happened. And so he works on it during the year, and then right after New Year's, he has it printed. I don't know how he does it. I'm so glad he's doing it. I would not be able to do so. But that's part of being a couple, you build on the other strengths. And so we have
Yes.
this time where you just open the album of the year and you look at all the places you've been, all the people you've met. And then, of course, when you've done that with the year album, you're, oh, but do you remember, where was it? And then you go through the albums from the previous year, and then you go back to the expat places and what you live and the different experiences. So I would say that's one thing. And then
That's so special.
Yeah, and then it will be back to connecting with those expat friends, trying to meet. It's not necessarily to call each other every week or to put those very hard rules that you will never follow. But with some friends, we make it as a rule to at least once a year. We try to spend a weekend together. And it's just as if no time has passes, and it's either through the Zoom or just a message. I would say the same thing as you do with your family, as you would call your family or send a message. You do the same with your friends and making time for them.
I love it. We also do a yearly photo album, and it's not anything fancy because it just needs to get done.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
But like you're saying, it's like this resource and record.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
my boys have loved looking through them. And, our kids grow up so fast and time goes by so fast.
Yes.
So to have captured those moments is just precious.
Absolutely.
All right, well, Marie-Cécile, we have a couple questions as we conclude part 2. Tell us a final story about how your time abroad continues to add value to your life now.
Ooh, that's a very good one. I'm going to share something that happened just this summer about that. And my daughter is right now doing an internship in Lisbon for 6 months. So as she was in Madrid, I flew to Lisbon with her to get the keys to her room that she was going to share. So we took the plane early in the morning together. We arrived in Lisbon, went for a nice breakfast before meeting the landlord of the place. And through breakfast, she looked at me and she said, "Mom, I am thankful." I said, "What do you mean, Jeanne? You're thankful because I'm here with you in Lisbon?" She said, "No, I'm thankful for the life you gave us with Dad. Because of all the places we visited, because, of course, it has not always been easy, but now, as a 20 years old, I see the chance and the value it has. I feel at ease anywhere. I like to talk to people from different backgrounds." And I was like almost crying when she started saying that, because it's just like, it made me so grateful of this experience and seeing them really becoming global citizen, respectful citizen of the world. And the fact that at 20 she's able to see it, that was really the biggest gift of the day. Besides spending a whole day in a new city with my daughter, it was like just those words made the whole difference.
Yeah. And you really spent so much time around the world with your kiddos.
Yes.
Even if we've spent our whole lives in one community and our kids grow up in the same community, as parents, we're always like, am I doing the right thing?
Yes.
Am I being a good mom? And so when you're taking your kids all over the world without their extended family, we have those same questions.
Absolutely.
And we might even have more doubts.
Yes.
Because our kids do go through these emotional ups and downs, because they're adolescents or children, but also because of all these moves and transitions.
Yeah.
So which we of course take on.
Yeah.
And we're like, am I doing the right thing?
And what am I making them go through? But then 10 years later, when my daughter said that, I was like, okay, fine. We did the right thing.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
the reassurance you need as a parent, saying, okay, we didn't make them suffer, or it's not something that's gave them a big scar and they're traumatized about all this. No, they see the value of it, and now it's a strength for them. They're really resilient with that.
Yeah, that is very encouraging to hear, after you've done this for years and years. Is there any last word of encouragement or advice that you can give to our listeners as we close this part 2?
What can I say? I would say trust yourself, because I think the path is truly extraordinary. So just walk in confidence, just like think it through, and yes, trust your instincts. And one last thing is that it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork with your partner. It's not a decision that one person can make. It's a couple decision, because you're going to be the following spouse or the supporting spouse, but everything relies on you. So you need to have the respect of your partner, the trust of your partner, and you also need to trust him or her, because you basically place your life in his or her hands. That's you're going to be the main provider. I'm following you. I'm quitting everything to follow you and have this great experience. So it's a teamwork that requires communication, that requires understanding, that requires love, and but it's extraordinary.
I wanted to talk about the partnership of the marriage. And sometimes when I was overseas, like, you start to question, why am I here? Why did I take my kids with me away from their grandparents and their cousins? And then I think about how passionate my husband and I are about where we were, right? We were thriving. I mean, we weren't always thriving.
No, but it's
okay. But we weren't always thriving. Let's be real. But we really enjoyed where we were. We loved the people that we were working with, and we felt alive. And we worked together as a couple. And I thought, well, if we feel that way, and that we are the roots of our little family, then our kids are going to feel that way too. And so I've thought about that, and we can't always control where we are.
No.
Right? We decided to leave China. The corporation decided to move you back to France. It's so important that we are on the same page with our spouse. It is also a very high stress environment. Because of the expat experience with couples, there can be a lot of divorces.
Yes.
Right? And so the marriage requires even more work, I think, when you're overseas. And
I think the marriage requires even more work, requires a lot of communication, and to be extremely non-judgmental and supportive of the other. Because basically you're gonna work for your spouse company. You're gonna be a volunteer you're gonna know a lot about your partner's job, because he's gonna come home, or she's gonna come home and share with you what's going on, and you have this input. Then you have your own small company as a family to make work. I think we see a lot of couples going through expats and having trouble getting divorced, or one of them is truly unhappy. It's not a magic recipe, but I think if you love each other and you communicate and you respect each other, it's not, oh, you're just a housewife and I'm the money maker. No, I'm the housewife because I accepted to be the housewife so that you can have a better job. So I'm also part of this job. And it's being able to say and being able to hear those words in confidence, in harmony, without aggressivity or things like that. And that's why sometimes it's so important to just get a little bit of outside help, or to have like a good HR if it's in a company. Some company can provide that, but it's mostly it's a couple decision. If you decide you put your trust and your faith in your partner, then it could be a brilliant story. And the kids, as you said very rightly, Tracy, the kids will feel it. You know, when you decide to move from or to another country, if you're convinced that you're making the right decision for your family, then the kids are gonna feel it too, and they're gonna be happy with the change. So it's really, this combination of trust, love, and communication. And if you have that, then it's a good start.
Yeah, it's not like when you are, just in your home country and you each have your own job or your own roles. Your spouse can change their job, and it doesn't change your entire world when they change their job. If you've moved to another country, it completely affects everybody. Yeah, so it is so that communication and the respect and the decision that, no, we are all on board with this and going to support each other and not going to be bitter towards the other person for bringing us to this place and, causing all this whatever. Like it's, that kind of communication and honesty.
Yes.
And is really, really important. Yeah, thanks, Marie-Cécile, for these reminders of just the value of communication in our families and outside. And I love hearing about how you've taken all the things that you did supporting your family and your kids abroad, and how now it's your job to support other kids that are going through these transitions and
their families, right? Because
yes, and like you talked about, how supporting kids in those transitions extends to supporting their families, and now some of that gets to be shared with our listeners too. So thank you so much.
And Marie-Cécile, if somebody's interested in hiring you to help with their kids' education, future, how can they get a hold of you?
They can get hold on me via email, would be the easier. It's marie@mc2studies.com. Also on LinkedIn under my name. And thank you so much, Melissa, Tracy. It was a wonderful time, and I hope it will help some people or just give a different perspective about being abroad and all the wonderful adventures we can have around the world.
Thank you, Marie.
Absolutely. Thank you. As we land this interview, we hope that you have been inspired by Marie-Cécile's stories. Her family needed to find where the kids fit back in France, and they trusted their intuition that they would find support in a new international community. Not only was the international school community a breath of fresh air for Marie-Cécile, but it was also a place of direction for her son. Marie-Cécile encourages listeners to walk in confidence when making big decisions upon return to a home country. And although not a magic recipe, to put your trust and faith in your partner, for it could be a brilliant story. No matter what leg of the journey you're on, friends, we are so grateful you have brought us along with you.
Come back next time to hear from our guests, Andy and Mary Ellen Faust, Canadian Americans who have worked with a mission organization focused on Bible translating for over 20 years. They'll tell stories from Russia, Central Asia, and then their transition back to Canada.
If you're enjoying our podcast, we'd love it if you would leave us a review in your podcast app. And don't forget, you can visit our website at roundtripstories.com to see photos of our guests and to join our email list. And of course, tell your friends to travel the world with us. No passport, no packing, and no goodbyes required. Thanks so much for listening, friends. We'll see you next time.